The USA Freedom Act passed Congress earlier this week, and the President has signed it into law. The USA Freedom Act is the most significant national security surveillance reform measure to have passed Congress in the last generation, in the last 30 years. And admittedly, that is a low bar because there have not been many national security surveillance reform measures that have passed Congress in the last generation. But this marks a turning point. It marks an end to the era of rubber stamping mass surveillance as if though it did not matter for liberty. The USA Freedom Act will end the mass collection, nationwide dragnet of Americans' communications records under the Patriot Act. And it would require the government to be more transparent about the way that they are using surveillance authorities and how they interpret secret surveillance law. And it would also allow companies to report on the number of orders that they receive under different national security surveillance laws. This is a significant win for privacy and transparency, but it is also, compared to the amount of problems with national security surveillance, a modest win. It definitely does not solve all the problems with national security surveillance, and we should not pretend that it does. In particular, there are two things that CDT will be working on in the post-USA Freedom environment. One is the Electronic Communications Privacy Act of 1986, which allows law enforcement to get emails and other digital content like Facebook messages with a mere subpoena. And a subpoena goes straight from the law enforcement agency to the company. There is no judicial intervention or court order required. And we think that this is in conflict with Fourth Amendment principles. We want to see the standard raised to just a flat warrant. Another thing that we'll be working on is reforming Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. And Section 702 of FISA is a law that allows the government to surveil people who are located overseas. And the scale of the collection that is authorized under Section 702 is so broad that it sweeps in millions of people, including many Americans. And there we're not just talking about communications records or metadata, we're also talking about the content of our messages, the actual content of our email messages or our phone calls. And we will be working to enhance the privacy of both Americans and non-US persons under Section 702. So the USA Freedom Act is a big step forward for this country at a time when other countries are actually expanding their surveillance laws. But there is still a lot of other work left to do, and CDT is ready to do it.